On the outside, dismissive avoidants often look completely fine when you're gone. Calm, detached, even indifferent. But underneath, there's often a hidden struggle that almost nobody sees. And in today's video, we are going to break down 5 really surprising things that dismissive avoidants often experience when you are gone and when they are alone to sort of reflect on their own feelings. If you've ever walked away or the dismissive avoidant left the relationship, either one, and you have just felt like they didn't even notice, you're not crazy, okay? Avoidants are experts at masking. They have trained themselves to look unaffected because they don't want to show their emotion to you because it makes them feel more vulnerable. And their whole personality is largely constructed around avoiding vulnerability at almost any cost. So just because they seem one way on the outside doesn't mean they're not experiencing something else. I just want to say one disclaimer. As much as I believe truly that dismissive avoidance can heal just like anybody else, if they're willing to do the work, should be literally the number one thing you look out for. Just like with any attachment style. It's not what their attachment style is, it's how motivated they are to actually show up and try, okay? That will change everything. Please be mindful as well that when I share these things here with you in this video today, that you don't end up weaponizing your empathy against yourself and thinking, oh my gosh, the poor dismissive avoidant. And even if they haven't reached out to you or made any effort after a breakup, for example, that then you feel so sad for them. You do all these things to self-sacrifice and try to talk to them and check in with them if it hurts you, okay? Because just because they're feeling this way, it's really up to them to decide if they want to do something about it and heal and grow through that kind of a behavior or these patterns of experience that they often have. Not up to other people to enable things for them because it actually will prevent them from growing too. Okay. So just wanted to be really clear about that. Disclaimer before going in. But let's talk about 5 major things dismissive avoidants will often experience when you're gone. Okay. Here's the first thing. After a breakup or after a relationship ends, or even if there's just distance, you're in a rocky space in the relationship and they're taking some space and distance from you, they experience way more than you would ever realize. A lot of internalized shame. So they often think things about themselves like, what's wrong with me that I can't seem to just be good at relationships? What's wrong with me that, these fights keep happening? Or maybe I'm just not capable and cut out for a relationship. They also experience a lot of learned helplessness that provokes a shame response because they have this big defectiveness core wound. They deep down feel like they are fundamentally flawed or broken when it comes to human connection, relationships. And often they'll think a lot of things to themselves like, oh, I'm just not capable of being what they need from me. I can't give them what they want. They deserve somebody better. They truly will often express those thoughts out loud, but they truly feel these things about themselves. And this is through somebody who, I've worked in private practice with people for more than a decade, run our personal development school programs. I've had thousands of conversations with dismissive avoidants. And obviously dismissive avoidants are a smaller portion of the people who come in to do the work. Let's say they're 20%. But I've had so many conversations, thousands of conversations with dismissive avoidants directly where they've literally said these things. Okay. So first things first, just honoring that, noticing that that is the shame, the learned helplessness, the self-doubt, the self-question, that's there. They won't tell you that the vast majority of the time. Sometimes they'll do it in a relationship with somebody. They'll say, I'm afraid I can't ever give you what you need, that I'm just like not enough for you. But after a breakup, they will definitely feel like that and probably never express it to you because they don't want to be vulnerable to somebody that they have distance from. Number 2, dismissive avoidants automatically cope by literally numbing themselves. Okay. So they may not have this like really clear flood of anxiety and really clear longing and yearning. They may not have these emotions that are like, oh my gosh, I'm so lonely. I miss somebody so much. Because before they can really get to the point of feeling, they've already numbed. It's like they can feel this coming on to varying degrees. They can feel the sense of being disconnected or not feeling great. And before they even, do anything about it, they're like, oh, I feel this not so comfortable feeling. And before it has room to fully be felt, noticed, experienced, or for them to do something with that feeling that's more productive, their automatic coping mechanisms are to numb out. And so that can be through binge watching television, binge playing video games, binge eating food, drinking, going out all the time, being on social media constantly, but they will go to very great lengths to escape themselves and escape into other activities around them, their creature comforts. And so they have this cost to that. I want to be really clear. If you're somebody who constantly numbs yourself out, there's a cost to living like that, right? You're not experiencing the richness of emotion and all that life has to offer you. And you're not able to take the emotion and go, ouch, this hurts. How can I change? How can I prevent this from happening in the future? What can I do differently? If you're not able to be introspective about these things and do something meaningful with negative emotion, the negative emotion becomes punishing, and it just becomes needless suffering. Whereas negative emotion is actually meant to wake us up, help us understand that, oh, we keep ending up in these situations or scenarios. I'm going to feel about this. I'm going to introspect about this and do something different next time so I can change these themes and painful patterns in my life. So suffering is not needless. It's often there to teach us really powerful lessons. But if we go into automatically suppressing and numbing out, we don't get access to those lessons. And it's a really important thing that dismissive avoidants want to be mindful about, right? And want to learn to really re-feel their emotions again and get in touch and reflect. But some dismissive avoidants will do that, and that's great, but others won't. And it's your job, if you're missing this person or trying to understand where they stand, it's your job to tell the difference. Because if you are trying to reconnect with somebody who isn't willing to do the work, then you end up putting yourself in harm's way indirectly. But if you're trying to reconnect with somebody and you can see them showing up and trying, well, then that's actually really promising. So you have to be really clear about that vetting process. But I just want to say as well, if you are somebody who is trying to figure out how intimacy, how closeness really works for different attachment styles, whether it's for yourself and what your needs are, what your standards, boundaries, non-negotiables are, whether you're trying to understand the roadmap of somebody else, or if you just want education on all attachment styles, so these things in advance. It helps you prepare to thrive more at connecting with other people. We have a course you can check out fully for free. You get to keep it for life. We're just doing this for a limited time. It's literally a giveaway. It's the Attachment Styles and Intimacy course, and it's all about closeness. And that is mental, intellectual pillar of closeness, romantic, emotional, and of course, sex and the physical pillar of closeness. And it gives you a roadmap to all the attachment styles. I'll leave the link down below, and you can get free access to it for life. So it's a gift that I'm sharing. Number 3, dismissive avoidants have a lot of rumination in silence. So they will often think about things a lot more than they admit. And they will often have this period of time where they kind of repress first. And then later on, they'll often go into a space where they go back to processing and they think, should I have done this differently? Will I always be like this? Why am I like this? And they'll often ruminate in a way that causes them stress. And they'll ruminate, unfortunately, kind of passively. So, we have 2 forms of rumination. We have passive rumination and meaningful rumination. Meaningful rumination is I'm trying to get to the bottom of something. I'm going to research, I'm going to dig in, I'm going to think about this and focus on it and maybe fixate on it a little bit of fixation here, a little bit of obsession, because I'm going to crack the code on this. I'm going to change this theme. I'm going to get to the bottom of this and not keep repeating. But then we have, this passive rumination where we just think about things without fully consciously thinking them through. So you'll be like, why am I like this? What's wrong with me? Gosh, I'm going to have such a hard time. I'll probably be alone. There'll be this sort of self-deprecating internal dialogue without actually being like, why am I like this? Let me think about it. Let me do something about it. Let me research why I might be like this and get to the bottom of it so I can change it. And so they often go into this much more passive rumination. And it's actually that passive rumination that then also causes them to want to numb out, because it's an uncomfortable mental state to be in, right? It often has these hidden forms of meaning that are like, okay, you're defective, you're shameful, you're broken. And that's why they often, numb out and avoid and distract themselves. Number 4, dismissive avoidants very much have what we call delayed realization. I call this the breakup boomerang effect, where unlike anxious partners who tend to process the loss more immediately, dismissive avoidants tend to process loss later. Okay, now I want to be really clear about this. If you've been dating a dismissive avoidant for 3 months, they're not going to 3 months later, 2 months later be like, oh my gosh, I changed my mind, I really miss you. They don't do this for like more surface level relationships where they haven't gotten to know somebody very deeply. But in longer term relationships, nobody has a breakup boomerang effect like dismissive avoidance. They literally, if you've been with them for like a year, 2 years, if you've lived with them, they will feel this kind of relief initially from breaking up. Oh, I have my freedom, I'm out of this cycle. And then that will be followed by usually about 8 weeks after you've been no contact with them. They really get deeply lonely, deeply sad, because remember, they don't reconnect with new people like everybody else does. They don't go make a whole bunch of new friends or be really vulnerable to their friends so they can process their emotions. They internalize and try to suppress their feelings and their emotions. And that's a really hard place to be when you're doing that on your own. You're not getting that connection met in new ways through friends and family. You're not being vulnerable with people. You're not able to actually like process through your emotions. It makes it really, really difficult. Okay. Number 5, one big thing that you will often see for dismissive avoidance is that they have this conflicted relief intertwined with grief. They may feel this sort of early relief from pressure, but they have this like grief that often sits there that they're unable to process. And you may notice this dismissive avoidance, generally more than any other attachment style, struggle to cope with grief. When they lose somebody, a pet, a family member, a friend, like when they lose somebody in the sense of like that person dies or passes away, they take so long to overcome it because they struggle to express their needs. It almost has this residual impact where they're less willing to be vulnerable over time because every time there's loss or pain, it goes into their memory bank and they go, see, I knew things were going to be really hard. I knew that things were going to get worse. And they justify or rationalize to themselves that things are going to keep being really difficult. And that's why they shouldn't really connect. They shouldn't be vulnerable. And over time, you'll actually often see that if a dismissive avoidant doesn't work on these themes and patterns, they become more and more lonely over time. They isolate themselves more. And it's not just physical isolation, it's like emotional isolation. They'll share less and less about themselves as they get older, unless they break through some of these patterns. They'll take more and more space from people over time. They'll be less and less vulnerable. And so their connections as a whole will become more and more surface. And actually, research on loneliness shows that loneliness is not about the number of connections you have, it's about the depth of connection you have. So people could have 6 friends and report being chronically lonely versus having one really good friend, one deep, meaningful relationship. People statistically will report being much less lonely in those circumstances. So it's important to note that unless the DA is willing to do the work here, that will be the output they see over time. And also, if you're the loved one of a dismissive avoidant, please be mindful that, they have to be willing to do that for you to ever see a potential for change in the relationship with them. So it's good to have empathy and compassion for them and care for them. But if you listen to this video and you're like, oh my gosh, I should now reach out to my ex who's never reached out to me and try to see how they're doing. And then it rips off the Band-Aid and then you long for them again, but they're not ready to reconnect in any way, then you could put yourself in a difficult position. So I just wanted to share that as well. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, subscribe to this channel. I would love to have you here. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of the daily videos I put out here, and I will see you next time.